Be free.
This is a Free Wild World podcast. I'm sitting here with a fellow artist, Gerhard Rasch, and we're sitting in my little gallery studio here in Buffalo River. So we're just going to have a chat. Gerhard, how are you doing?
Goedemiddag, Chris.
We're doing this in English because we're doing it for an international audience, hopefully.
I hope so too.
For the day when you make it big. So I'm going to start with a random question. You told me the other day that you lived in France, in Paris for a while. Tell me about that.
Okay. Yeah, I got fed up with South Africa at some point. I decided to go and live in Europe, and it was either London, Paris, or Berlin, and I chose Paris because I think all the writers, and I'm a poet as well, all the writers, and Breitenbach was there, and Jan Rabie was there, and Brink was there, a lot of South African people, and it was quite romantic, so I thought, okay, I'll go to Paris. So I stayed there for, 7 years?
7 years, that's a long time.
6.5 years, yeah.
So it wasn't like a short, 3-month stint, it was a long time.
I was intending to move out of South Africa. I got fed up with apartheid and what's happening in the country, basically. There was the late 80s when we were being boycotted by the world, basically, but with culture and sport and etc., etc.
And art, on an art level as well.
Everything,
obviously.
theatre, yeah.
So tell me, but how did you manage to live there for 7 years in those days, especially in apartheid? Did you get a special visa, or how did it work?
I've got a German passport, so...
Excuse me, that helps.
It really helps, yeah, of course. And of course in France, if you get a bank account, you need to have a residential address, and if you get the one thing, you can get 1 and 2. If you get 1 and 2, you can get 1, 2, and 3. So I finally got a work visa, and yeah, I started working in the film industry and did
in France?
In France, yes, and did a lot of decorative work, apartments, did lots and lots of apartments.
Do you have contacts there, or did you just go around and look for
I had no contacts. I had one person I knew, that a friend of mine knew in Paris, and I could stay there. I stayed there for about a couple of days. And yes, and met some 2 nice women, and they said, well, we've got a friend who's got a little apartment in Montmartre. So I said, okay, let's have a look, which was fantastic. So on the 7th floor, no lift. Hence, I've got nice legs.
But then you were still young then. How old were you then?
I was there when I was 30 years old. Yeah.
That's an ideal age.
Yeah.
To go there, to go play in Paris.
Yeah.
But now we're going to get back to that part of your life.
Okay.
But I'm going to rewind down from the start. If you have to give yourself a short description of who you are and what you do, who are you?
I'm an artist, a creative being. Okay, so now I do sculpture, I do poetry, I paint, and I think it's all important for me to do all that stuff. I studied architecture as well, so I have a sort of a formal background in that. Yes, so.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Gauteng, in Springs and Kempton Park, and then my parents moved to Bellville when I was in standard 5. So.
Okay. And were you like an arty family, one of those arty families? How did you discover?
My mother was into writing and stuff like that, but my stepfather wasn't at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we hardly had any books in our house. There was no art books or anything. I think we had a few books of André Pierre Brink, and that was about it.
Well, at least you had that.
Yeah.
So did you get your creative feeling from your mother, or was it just there?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just something that developed.
It started off when I was even in my early teens. I started making little still lives with pots and pans and things like that, and vases.
Well,
pencil drawings.
What type of person were you in school? Because in school I was
I was very quiet.
Yeah.
And I was the guy on the edge there that never spoke to anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like school?
No.
I also hated school. Didn't like it at all.
I
Sorry to the people that
from
watch
standard
this.
8 till matric. I failed 4 subjects, then 3, then 2, then 1, then I passed to the next year, and then standard 9 the same thing, and matric the same thing. So I did this minimum.
But did you? There was always in school those. I use this for. This is my weapon. This rubber bands. I always have them around my wrist because I'm a sniper for flies. If there are flies, this is like a hobby and a skill. I just shoot the flies with my rubber bands. It's so much easier than carrying it around the pluck or dooming all the time. I'm getting pretty good at it.
Okay.
But anyway, so there's I'm going to put the weapons aside now. Where were we now? Oh yeah, about your school. So you didn't enjoy school the same as me, but I remember in school we always had 1 or 2 people that got stayed behind the stand. I almost felt so sorry for those guys. But so you never got stayed behind that you have to do
another year.
Another year.
No, thank you.
I wonder if it's still like that because it's just so terrible. Imagine you have to redo a whole year in your life.
Yeah, no, I was quite young in matric. I was 17, so.
Okay.
And basically, I was 17 when I went to the army. We was obviously conscripted for 2 years.
Those days, yeah, still conscripted.
Those days, yeah.
So tell me about that.
I did the army, went to the border for over 6-7 months, I think. We went 2 contacts, and finished the army and went to study architecture. So
yeah, but you're skipping way too far ahead, because I'm interested in this, especially the army part.
The army was horrible.
Yeah, but listen, you went to infantry. Did you like?
I was anti-aircraft.
Anti-aircraft. Tell me the story, because you told me the other day a little bit about how you got into the Bush War, into the contacts. How did it get there?
They used to take us with helicopters. For some reason, the major liked me. So every time there was a reason to leave, he will choose me as a bombardier because I had 2 lines.
Okay. What is a bombardier exactly?
It's like a corporal, but it's just anti-aircraft.
Okay, so you've got your names like bombardier.
You get 2 lines, you're a bombardier.
So you're an artist and a bombardier.
So yes, they would take us with helicopters into Angola at say 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's pitch dark, so dark that if you had to walk, you had to hold onto the guy in front because you wouldn't know. It's so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, they drop us off about 20 or 30 k's into Angola, and then the pilots will go, bail! So everybody had to jump out of the helicopter. And then some guy broke his ankle, which was a problem because they had to call the helicopters back to come and casevac him up and take him away. And then we would walk back to Namibia for 4 or 5 days. So we had.
So it wasn't an assault; it's like a patrol.
No, it's a patrol and just clearing the area, kind of thing. We'll see what's going on.
How many people are you doing?
We were a platoon, so 30 guys. Yeah.
It's quite a lot of helicopters.
And I was head of a section, which was 10 guys. And yes, at some point we had contact. I mean,
how does this unfold? Tell me, how long did you walk before you get the contact, and how did the contact unfold? Was it like very sudden? Tell me the story.
We were walking, and you normally walk in like a V formation. And at some point, somebody started shooting at us. And then obviously everybody hits the fucking deck and leopard crawl to the closest bush or rock or whatever. And then started trying to find out where the shots came from and then shooting back. And we shot some people, well, some people got shot dead. Not of our platoon, but of them, the terrorists. And yes, so.
That's quite hectic, eh?
Yeah, it's not nice getting shot at.
Yeah, did you feel like was it like, obviously a lot of fear? Was it a real type of fear? Does your training kick in? Or?
Yeah, of course, your heart jumps out of your mouth and you scramble and like, you know. So
you saw some shit things, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You saw people getting killed?
Yes.
And the second time, was it similar circumstances?
Second time, same thing. We had a Unimog, traveling in a Unimog, and one of them hit a landmine and some of the guys weren't strapped in, so they ended up in a tree 20 meters away.
Sure.
And some guys got blown up by a landmine, so he lost his legs. Yeah, it was quite hectic at the time.
So what else do you want to tell about the army? Is anything else you want to tell me about it? Any experiences that come to mind?
Well, we had to go. I mean, the idea of not going to the army didn't even enter my brain. I know some people skipped the country or went to study. And it was quite horrible. Our basics, we had one of the most horrible people as a bombardier, Kaserne bombardier, bungalow bombardier. And we were 24 in a bungalow, and our intake was, I think, 300 people in the first year. And he was a nightmare, our bombardier, so we became very fit. And yes, in retrospect, I mean, I hated it when I was there, but in retrospect, I actually think it was a good thing to go to the army. I mean, we all walked in as boys, and we all left as men, kind of thing. Yeah. So it was quite an important transition in your life, and realizing what your physical limits are, and your psychological limits, of course, as well. Yeah. Basically, they will break you down in your first 2 or 3 weeks, completely, physically, mentally, and then try and build you up again into a soldier, which is what they wanted to do. So that was the target, to make you a soldier.
Indoctrination, so to speak. So after the army experience,
I went to study architecture at UCT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an Afrikaner, Afrikaans family.
Me and Hoffie, who's recently passed, went to first year. We were like 54 in first year, and me and Hoffie was the only 2 Afrikaans. No, there was another Afrikaans guy. We were 3 Afrikaans people, and the rest were all English. Just 3 guys who were 2 years older than the rest of the school. And everybody was just going to study architecture after they finished matric, basically. So we were 2 years older, having done the army. So we were a little bit wiser, and yeah, it was quite an experience. It was very pleasant to be at the School of Architecture at UCT. It was fantastic at the time.
After the army, obviously.
Yeah, no, it was. You could grow your hair. You could, the lecturers were like your friends. You can talk to them about anything, and it wasn't like we were taught at school, like, finger wagging teachers, and where we got corporal punishment for smoking or doing anything out of the rules that they kept as guidelines, kind of thing.
Yeah, obviously. How long did the architecture last?
It took me 4 years to get my 3-year degree. And yes, it was fine afterwards. And then I started freelancing in the film industry and left the country a few years later, kind of thing.
Okay, so did you ever work as an architect or not really?
I never worked as an architect, although in the film industry I did a lot of drafting and designing and sketching up and making plans for sets and stuff like that, yeah. And
how long did you do the film industry in Cape Town before you left?
I'm sort of still in the film industry in a way, I suppose. It's like been 30 years, 35 years, I think.
I was just thinking, like, before you went to France, obviously, did you had a bit of background in the film industry to get a job in France?
I didn't. I did a few commercials, but we were painters, we were artists.
Oh, yeah.
I worked in Johannesburg for 2 years with somebody, and we painted a lot of backgrounds in studios. We painted skies. We were sky painters.
Okay.
So we had one day to paint a massive sky, literally 10 meters by 10 meters by 10 meters by 6 meters high, and we had to paint a sky. So we will do a fade from the top to bottom, and then stick clouds on it.
Yeah.
Which was quite easy, actually. No, don't tell anybody I say this, okay? But it's actually quite easy to make paint skies. And obviously the brief was What kind of sky do you want? A blue sky? Do you want an orange sky? Do you want a thunder sky? Do you want a rainy sky? Cloudy sky? So it was quite interesting, and we did a lot of commercials, and we got paid very well for the skies, which unfortunately disappeared. That sort of angle of work disappeared when computers started, and they could simply drop in a sky afterwards, you know.
Green screen and all
Green
that.
screen and all
obviously.
that, yeah.
Well, those days were the blue screen, then it turned into green screen. But what years were this now? What year were you talking about?
This late 80s.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And I was still...
And then I left in 1990, I left for Paris,
Uh-huh.
and I came back the end of 96, I think.
Okay. So you just decided kind of, okay, you're tired of the stuff in South Africa. Obviously very oppressive that time, kind of environment, especially if you're an artist. And did you have your family's blessing and they said, okay, go? Or how did it work?
I don't know, I just left.
You just left?
I
And this age, what age were you then? Like
I was 30 years old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
told me
said,
before,
yeah.
30 years old. Okay, cool. And you, in the meantime, you continued to painting your own paintings and writing your poetry?
I did a lot of, I had a very arty girlfriend at the time, Judith. And
Sounds French.
Yeah, she's very French. And we spent days sometimes just walking around with sketch pads and then sitting at a church or a pleasant view and sit and draw. I mean,
Was it like arty love through love of another artist, or?
Yeah, it was very romantic, I think. It was quite cool at the time. I still miss her, we're still in contact.
Great, that's awesome. You went to Paris in your 30, when you were like in your early 30s or 30 basically. And obviously at that age, you know a little bit of life, but not too much. I was still I'm such a bloody pessimistic now at this age, but at life everything was still wonderful and beautiful enough. The idea of an artist in Paris, obviously, that's a great romantic, idealistic idea, because all the guys went to Paris. Even you talked about the South African guys, but all the big writers in America and all over the world, the philosophers, the art, Paris was the place.
Oh yeah. I mean, I stayed very close to where a lot of famous artists lived. I stayed in Montmartre, and writers like Henry Miller just lived down the road from where I was staying.
So that's history.
Yeah. So there was, it was beautiful. Paris at the time was beautiful. It probably still is, although there's a lot of problems now with immigrants. But it was very pretty and romantic, and you see people kissing on a bridge over the Seine and don't care what other people think at all. And
so that's for real, it's like that?
No, it was very romantic. It's a romantic city. It's the city of love, as they call it, so people come from anywhere in the world, and they let their hearts rule, I think.
Passion.
Whilst they're there.
Yeah. And obviously then you got to work in the film industry, but you continued with your art on the side when you had time. How did that dynamic work?
I did a bit of art, I did a lot of decorating. I'd worked on a few movies in France and a lot of documentaries. So I spent 3 months in Sevilla in Spain, and 3 months, 4 months in Tunisia, and in 3 months in Brittany, just filming stuff. They did a documentary about the invasion, and it was a 30-year, I think in 92, it was a 30-year memorable, 40 or 30, 92, 40 years, 42, I think. The invasion that we went to shoot on the beaches in France. Very interesting, and worked with interesting people.
Did you meet a few famous people as well? Was it like?
Yeah, I was lucky. I started working. I got a job to paint the beautiful apartment of a very famous actress, who was playing in Blue. It's one of Krzysztof Kieślowski's movies. He made 3 movies: White, Red, and Blue.
Yeah, I remember that.
Her name was Florence Pernelle, and I did a beautiful floor. She wanted me to paint the floor. It's a concrete floor, so I painted it like blocks and stuff, but very textured and stuff, and painted the bathroom and everything, and did a lot of stucco work. Stucco is when you use pigments to make textures on walls.
And any personal relationship with it? Was it just like a job thing?
No,
or
it was just
like-
jobs. But I mean, since I got her to do the job, she got me rather. I got other work from it, so it was.
Okay.
I was a
So a bit of a
lucky
break.
little break, yeah.
And tell me about the life in South Africa. Let's talk about this, okay? Growing up in apartheid, in this kind of like anal environment, Afrikaner environment, let's be honest, it's quite a restricted anal environment. Making the jump to Europe in Paris, how did that?
Yeah, it opens your mind completely. I mean, you know, instead of having a limited view of the world and who you are, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the culture, the lifestyle. So, yeah, what comes to mind when you think like, yes, like sun and Sunday brides in church, and then you go to Paris. Did it change for you personally?
Yeah, I have met some amazing people. South Africa, a lot of South Africans at the time living that I met. A lot of women that had boyfriends or got married to French guys, and there were very limited amounts of South Africans there, but quite a few.
Yeah.
And the French, very often they do dinners, so there's like a revolving thing where you do a dinner and you invite 6 people, and then somebody else does the dinner and you go there and they do dinner. And of course, dinner starts at about 8 and you'll have the starter, then main course is at 9 o'clock. It was just great going to somebody's house, and they obviously spoke French, and my French was, I went to Alliance Française for the first one, Alliance Française 1, but the French speak very fast, so it was very difficult to understand what they were saying. So it took me about a year or even more to get a bit more comfortable with the language. It was great to go out for dinners at somebody's house, and I mean, we all, obviously Paris is very expensive, so it's very seldom that you can go out to a restaurant and have a meal at a restaurant. It's just too expensive. And of course rent is very expensive. And I went there with quite a bit of money and ran out of money, I think, after about 6 months. And then I got a job with a very famous guy called Hilton McConaughey, who was the art director of a movie called Diva. And he was also a photographer, and he shot a lot of very famous people, including Nastassja Kinski and James Gainsborough, and what's her name, Jane Birkin, and stuff, people like that. So yeah, it was very interesting.
So were you like the only Afrikaner guy there? Were you like the only foreigner? What was the setup? Did you hang out with other French people mostly? Or
yeah, French people. There was a few South Africans. Baron de Wet, who's also passed. He was a sculptor. He won a prize, and he was at the Cité des Arts. And at some point I got chucked out. After a week I got chucked out from where I was staying because I didn't want to have sex with this French lady. And she wouldn't, so she kicked me out.
why?
I just broke up with my girlfriend in Joburg.
So you were
I was like romantic,
romantic.
and I didn't
Okay.
want to, like, yes, just
Okay.
another
Right.
2 pretty women with a nice body though, and want to have sex with me. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then she started touching me whilst we were sleeping, and there was only one bed. So I woke up one night and she was like touching my private parts, and then I got like a bit upset, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to sleep on the floor, on the couch, on the carpet.
Very un-French of you.
And then she started walking past me and smoking hash all the time, and then kicking my legs to keep me awake. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, she chucked me out, and it was snowing in Paris. Wow. And then I took a taxi to Barend, and I had to wake him up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and said, listen, can I sleep there? And then he had only one single bed, so he took the mattress off, and then we got some newspaper and cardboard on the springs of the single bed, which is where I slept for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that also happened to me more than once, that
And
you just get chased out of a
and
place.
then I got this wonderful little apartment on the 7th floor after that.
Oh, that was after that. But that is obviously a little bit of a traumatic little time. But if you could go back in time and you could talk to the young man there when the girl made an advances, what did you tell him now? Would you say, "Hey, come on, man, just do it"?
Everybody says you should have just gone there, but I mean,
No, that's
I was like
no.
romantic and I didn't want to.
I'm trying to get a feel for who you
I
were.
was still in love with my girlfriend in Joburg,
Yeah.
and she couldn't come, obviously, and couldn't or wouldn't come to France.
So you were heartbroken also.
A little bit heartbroken, but things move on. So
The point, while I'm harping a little bit on this, is because it's about feeling,
about
feeling stuff.
yes,
And I think that's a arty kind of trait, if I can put it like that, without trying not to sound pretentious here, but I was always accused from young that I'm too sensitive. But I don't believe there's something like too sensitive. I believe some people are more sensitive, and that's okay, that's allowed. But it's got to do a bit of expression or that you have to feel things. I mean, I can't write a poem or a song or make a painting if I don't feel it, right? So obviously, a lot of other young men would probably behave differently than you. They would have just took up the offer and went for it.
Yeah.
So obviously you had...
Strange enough, she wanted to get pregnant, and she did.
Wow.
About a month after I left there, she got pregnant with another South African guy. And I was not interested in having children whatsoever. In fact, I'm quite anti-procreating.
So you don't have any children?
It was quite a narrow escape, I think.
Okay, so, but that's a kind of do you think that's a cultural thing that the French woman, like, okay, she wants to get pregnant and have sex, and you have to perform or what? What was the situation there? Was it a cultural thing, or was she just a bit of a dick or what?
I don't know. She was just very weird. She was French speaking, but she was from North Africa, I think.
Okay.
And
probably Morocco, whatever,
Morocco,
a French colony.
probably, I think she was Moroccan, yes.
Yeah, it's just interesting for the culture, because I'm trying to understand now, still coming from you from South Africa, going to because in the movies, I don't know, I've been to Paris once, I think when I was young, just quickly, to France. But I mean, obviously not like 7 years, you get a real feeling of the culture. But if you see the documentaries and the movies and the media online, it seems like they have this culture of obviously very much sexualized thing almost. Like they're very open to that type of the passion and the
Very
sex.
open to any physical something public as well. So they don't really care. People.
So that is the
I
truth.
saw people having sex in the trains with a full coach. People lying under a blanket and having sex at the feet of other passengers.
And that's like accepted.
There's like not accepted. They sort of looked at it, but they didn't do anything. Nobody stopped them or anything like that.
Yeah, like we'll get arrested in front of the jail.
Yeah, that's probably.
Did you have any romantic entanglements with French ladies when you were in
Yes, of
France?
course.
Okay.
I'm
Any loves
I'm
over?
not going to tell you anything about it.
Okay, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was quite a pretty boy at the time, so I had a lot of choice. Yes, I also met another lady who was South African. I won't mention her name, but she's still in Europe. And we had a relationship for 2 years, and then I met my French girlfriend, Judith. And yes, that was another story.
So did you hang out like in the artist circles or what? Or was it just...
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning it was very fucking lonely. You don't know anybody. There's a city with 4.5, 5 million people in a small city, and on the outskirts, the banlieue, as they call it, the suburbs. There's probably about 10 million in the Ile-de-France, which is the area in Paris. Yes, it was difficult and very lonely at some point. Don't know anybody. I sometimes just went to the Place du Tertre, which is on the hill of Montmartre, where there was a square, where a lot of artists sat and drew, and they made portraits and something. So one day I was sitting there drawing, and then this guy came up to me and said, "You must have a ticket or something. You have to have permission to sit here and draw. You can't draw here." So I said, "I'm just making drawing, but just to earn a bit of money to buy food." So he said, "Go back to your own country and eat in your own country." Go and eat in your own country, say for me. So that was quite funny.
How did he feel to you? Did he tell him like to fuck off? How was
It's like they didn't want you there because you were like competition, you know.
Yeah.
So you sit there and draw. You can't.
Spot.
You need some permission or some.
It's a sacre de cour. How do you pronounce it? Sacre coeur. I was there once at the sunset.
I had a beautiful view from my 7th floor apartment.
Because it's very high up. You look down.
Very high up, and I was on the other side of the hill of the Sacre Coeur, so you could see the old church, and the water tower. There's a water tower that people think belongs to the church, but it doesn't. It's actually a water tower. And most of the views are from the front, from the other side of the hill. But I was on the back of the hill. Interesting.
I remember I was there quickly at the Sacre de Coeur when I was young, because everybody goes there, right? And when you stand and you look over Paris, on the left-hand side was there's a lot of Africans at that time. They were in that part.
That's the 20th. What is it called? Rochechouart. That's right.
Yeah.
The area, only black people from all over the world, Nigeria particularly, a lot of French-speaking Africans.
And to the right-hand side was more the traditional old arty part where all the artists live.
That's where I stayed, that side. In France, a hill is called a mont. So Montmartre was the hill of Martre, and then you get Montparnasse, which is the hill of Montparnasse. And I think there's about 7 hills all around all around Paris. So that's hence the name comes from there.
I'm going to stick with this Paris thing for a while because I find it fascinating. I hope other people that are listening to it find it fascinating as well. The Parisian, tell me about the typical Parisian person.
They're not interested in tourists. And very arrogant, very insolent, thinks they are the best culture in the world. I mean, I fell in love with the cheese, of course, and wine drinking and all that kind of stuff. But you'll walk in the street and somebody will walk past you and you're the only 2 people in the street and they won't even make eye contact, you know. They're not interested they want to do their job, go home, eat, and go back to the job tomorrow. No exterior influences. It's quite strange, actually.
It sounds like a little comfort zone. This is our culture we live in here.
Yeah, we're living in that, and we don't want. I mean, they were quite rude to tourists most of the time. In fact, the French are quite rude. And I've heard it from more than one person as well. And of course, there's the problem with dog shit. So everybody walks looking down on the ground so you don't step in dog shit. I think there's something like, I can't remember the amount, but I think there's something like 100,000 dogs in Paris. And they all live in little apartments. Shame, the poor dogs.
Poodle shit.
You see big Alsatians, and then they get taken out once a day or twice a day if they're lucky, and then they crap on the pavements. And very often you see people standing next to a puddle with a shoe in the puddle or trying to get the shit off their shoes, kind of thing. That was quite funny.
I would have used that as a sound bite.
Yeah,
of course, the problem in Paris is the dog shit.
It is a problem in Paris.
It will make a great sound bite for a fucking rap song.
I think they got these motorcycles with vacuums. And this guy drive around and they've got this big container in the back of the bike. So they suck up shit. I think they do up to something like 10 tons a day. 10 tons a day.
Can you imagine that?
That's 10,000 kilograms of shit that they pick up daily in Paris.
One of these days they will have robotic dogs, so it won't be a problem anymore.
I'm not sure if it's daily or monthly, but it's a lot of shit.
So I want to take you, let's not do the whole week. I thought I would ask you like the typical routine of a week, but let's say it's a Friday through to the Sunday in Paris of a good weekend. in the summer as an artist in Paris at that age when you were there? Give me a little bit of a sketch.
Well, there were a lot of, luckily I've made a few friends, and there were a lot of nice bars and nice pubs and clubs. And there was one particularly what was called Flèche d'Or, which means the Golden Arrow. It was a club. And amazing music, cooking every weekend. But expensive to go in. Of course, you had to pay a covered charge to go in. I can't remember how much it was, probably 20 francs or something at the time. When I was there euro wasn't there yet, so it was still French francs. And I think at the time a franc was almost the same value as a rand. So when I left Johannesburg, my rent I was paying was 300 rand a month, which wasn't a lot. It was rent controlled. Anything built before 1939, I think, was rent controlled, so you paid a third or a quarter of what they could charge. Pam Golding got rid of that law. And I then went to Paris, and my first rent I paid there was 1,600 francs, which is probably about the same in rand. So my rent went up about 5 times what I normally paid. So yes, like I said, it's an expensive city. It's one of the most expensive in Europe.
Yeah, same as Cape Town almost.
Cape Town, very expensive city. Most expensive in Africa apparently now.
And also like the social scene in Cape Town, a lot of people that come from Joburg or other places say it's very hard to crack the social scene because you're like lonely for a long time before you start making friends. It sounds almost like in Paris, like people don't really get involved with other people and you have to kind of crack the social
Exactly.
scene.
But Cape Town as well, very cliquey. So
yeah.
I mean, if you the film industry is one clique, and the theatre group, all the actors, and they're another clique.
Yeah. I mean, I love Cape Town, but it's not a place for people that are needy for social attention. If you go there and you expect the same, being invited to a random guy's braai like in Joburg and that's not going to happen.
I mean, I went to one bar in close to where I stayed, and I went there for about a year and a half and tried to make contact with the locals. It was a no-go zone, so they just didn't want to. I mean, a year and a half.
That's in France now.
Ordering the beer from the same barman, and you can't talk to them. It's quite amazing. It's like very like.
Oh, that must be kind of depressing though, because especially in your furniture, you're like in the social, you want to be social. You want to talk to everybody. You want to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Well.
And you were there like for most of your furniture, basically.
Up to about 37, yeah.
So it's like that's like your hero years as a man. Like. You know, you got a little bit of wisdom and all your physical prowess still.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still going through the thing. Your typical weekend in your best. So let's take your best weekend in Paris in your 7 years. How did it go? From the Friday to the Monday until you had to work again?
I mean, you're lucky you would go to a club on Friday night, meet somebody, take her home, have a good evening.
Do some Bible study.
It happened to me once. I went to, exactly that happened, and the next morning I said to this one lady, I said, okay, just hang in here. I'm going to go and get some juice and some croissants and cheese, and I'm going to buy a little shop. And she said, just chill out here in my place. You got a nice view. You can look at the Sacré-Cœur and all that. So I went out, and it's literally like about a half a kilometer down the road. I got all this stuff and peaches and juice and croissants and bought everything I had to buy. And as I walked back, this bus pulled up, and I thought, okay, it's just one bus stop. I'm just gonna to get back home quicker because she's waiting for me. So I got on the bus, and then high and below there were two guys, two inspectors. And they said, where is your ticket? I said, I don't have a ticket. And they said, no, you must come to us with the police station at the major site, one of the major, what is it called, Gare de l'Est. So I went there, and then I had to prove I didn't have ID on me, I didn't have anything. Eventually I said, okay, look in the telephone directory. My name is in there. And because you get a telephone, a landline, it's before the days of cell phones. And Heinberg, there was my name in the telephone directory. And eventually they let me go, but that took about 2 hours. So I got back to the apartment probably about 3 hours after I left. And she was not very happy. But
She was still there though?
yeah, she was still there, but initially didn't believe me. She just said, like, what did you do? Where did you go? Like, it disappeared for 3 hours. I said I was going to be 20 minutes, you know.
And you've only known her now for this night?
Yeah, that's for the night. I'm like, oh.
Jeepers.
No.
Well, good on her for sticking around. You must have made an impression. No, she didn't leave. And how did it go after that? Okay.
I think we made peace, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the life of a artist expert in those days.
Expat.
Expert in Paris. So you go out Friday night. It seems like the same people do today. You go out, go through a few beers, go to a club, maybe pick up a girl, a good night. Saturday, are they like Montmartre? How was it there? Was it like little markets or?
Yeah, there's a market every couple of 100 meters in Paris, which is lekker, twice a week. So Mondays and Saturdays you go to the market and buy all your fruit and vegetables, your cheese, and it was all quite cheap in a way. But Paris is very busy. You know, you walk out of the street and there's just like thousands of people go like, I mean, you get whiplash just looking. If you sit down at Champs-Élysées, there's just, you can't believe this. People walk 4, 5, 6 deep, and it's like movement. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of people. And Hinch, I think, is maybe the part of the reason that people just don't connect. There's just too many people. There's just so many people. You can't.
Everybody wants to be. It's like Paris. Everybody wants to go to Paris.
In the 6 years I was there, I met by chance people I knew only 3 times.
Wow. So it's very anonymous.
So you walk into the street and there's just traffic and cars and buses and people walking and cyclists and whatever. Very, very busy, obviously. And I think 4.5 million people at the time lived in Paris, and then I think in the daytime there was like 8 million people, double the amount, in the city, working, and then going home at 6 or 7 or whatever the time they go home. So very visually very busy.
Tell me about, at that time, the art scene. Did you participate in the formal art scene, so-called art world in Paris a lot, or did you go to exhibitions? But you continued making art?
A lot of exhibitions, of course. I went to a lot of exhibitions, and a lot of galleries or museums. One of the most interesting places I went to very often was the Rodin Museum, which was in a beautiful building, and it had a huge garden with all his sculptures, a lot of his sculptures in the garden. And there was a little tea room at the bottom. So I used to go there and just sit and make drawings in the garden, and for an hour or what, and then go and have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever, and then do the tour again, kind of thing, you know. Yeah, it was fantastic, and a lot of art exhibitions. I mean, I saw amazing Giacometti exhibitions, Picasso, stuff you won't see in South Africa at all, ever, like, you know, or hardly ever.
So it must have been very inspiring.
Yes, absolutely, yes. You're there and it's one of the centers of the art world, Paris, as it is, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Paris, they say London, Paris, New York, and there you go. So.
Berlin, I should add Berlin in there.
Yeah, but a lot of retrospectives of artists, alive and dead, kind of thing, that we used to go to, and not very expensive. You pay, at the time it was like 15 or 20 rand to go into and see a retrospective of somebody like Giacometti, and you can spend an hour, 2 hours in it, yeah. And of course, another one of the nicest museums was the Museum d'Orsay, which used to be an old train station, which they changed into a museum and gallery kind of thing. And you see paintings there from 300, 400, 500 years old, And also massive ones, some that are like 6, 7, 8 meters by 4 or 5 meters. Very realistic paintings of people and situations, you know. That was very interesting. I used to go there also quite often.
Yeah.
Rodin and d'Orsay was my favorites.
Yeah. And I find for me like South African culture is not really an art culture. It's not a priority for us.
No.
But I think a lot of European countries is like, don't touch your mic. I'm Muria. Okay, I'll give you a French push club. Anyway. Anyway, so yeah, obviously that's the other thing if you're a young artist, to immerse yourself in a foreign culture that puts a way more emphasis on art. We're kind of cold in South Africa. I mean, this is not a priority. Survival here is a priority, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I come from a European background, basically. I wasn't very convinced about African art at the time, traditional African art. So it was great to have a foot in the door looking at other artists, European artists, you know. And once you're in France, well, once you're in Europe, it becomes very easy to travel everywhere. So you hop on a TGV, which means the train of great speed, the train de grande vitesse, TGV. Anyway, so yeah, and you can go. I spent a month in Venice. I went to Cannes to work there for a month. Worked in Brittany, all over France. It's once you're there, it's very easy to move around. I spent a month in Amsterdam as well. You know, getting Paris to Amsterdam is a few hours, and one of the ladies that I met in my first week I was there, who got me the place to stay where I was staying. That little apartment was 17 square meters on the 7th floor, which is tiny, of course. Her mum was a doctor, and they had a house on an island just off the coast, west coast of France, at Brittany. So we went to this island quite a few times with them, which was fantastic. It's like it's called Belle-Île, which means beautiful island. Belle-Île, Belle-Île. Yes, we spent like a week there, playing games and swimming and fishing and collecting mussels for dinner. And it was fantastic. And a view, it was quite an elevated house, so you could look back towards Europe from the islands. Yeah.
So how did the whole French scene come to an end? How did you decide to come back?
I got a bit homesick. I hardly spoke Afrikaans for all those years. And missed my family and my friends that I had in South Africa. And at some point, my work visa ran out, and the first one I got was for 5 years, and the second one they gave me for a year only. And they started asking me questions like, how do you survive? Because they have access to your bank account. How did you survive? I said, well, by the grace of my girlfriend, she's been helping me. And they didn't believe me. And they tried to get rid of anybody that works, they call it work in black. So you don't work for companies, or you don't pay tax, etc. Yeah. And then after about 6 years, I thought, then I started I didn't have a work permit anymore, so I just said, okay, I had enough, I want to go back to, and of course, in South Africa in '94, they liberated the ANC, Mandela was freed. Yeah. And initially when I went to France, people would say, where are you from? I said, South Africa. They, oh, you're a racist bastard, you white scum. And then after that, Mandela became president, everything, you'll say, where are you from? You say South Africa, they say, oh, Nelson Mandela, free Mandela.
The stupidity of humankind.
It's just like it's just group thinking. So
yeah, it's like programming. Programming. Get rid of your programs, man. But anyway, so you came back, and how was your homecoming in South Africa, and what did you do?
It was difficult. I went back to Yeovil, And then, of course, my beautiful apartment that I spent so much time cleaning and fixing and sanding down the floors was completely fucked. There were newspapers in the windows because people didn't have money for curtains, basically. Anyway, I went to Cape Town for about a year, and then Cape Town was also, at the time, winter time, no work. There's 3 months winter in Cape Town that very little happens. And it was before the studios were built, so there was not a lot of work in winter time. And then I decided, well, I'm going to go back to Johannesburg. So I went to live in Johannesburg again for another, I think, almost 10 years, I think.
Working in film industry.
Film industry, particularly, and also doing renovations and painting work and or whatever, carpentry, anything I could do, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to rush it a little bit because you don't have that much time to sit here and talk with me. So I want to know how you ended up here in Suurbrak and what's life about now?
Well, this lockdown pandemic scam that happened and fucked so many people over, destroyed the middle class, really put a nail in my fucking coffin. So the film industry collapsed completely during lockdown for quite a long time. And then there was a boycott after that in America about CGI and AI and ChatGPT. You know, I think there was about 200,000 people that were boycotting, including something like 80,000 scriptwriters, and I think something like 120,000 actors. Which basically, ChatGPT basically means that you can write a script, you tell the computer what to do, and it writes a script in 20 minutes, which you normally spend 2 or 3 months writing. So they wanted to prevent that. So the film industry stopped for me completely. So it became a very difficult and challenging time for me in the last 5 years. And I came here because I was staying in a house that got sold. And I had to move anyway, and I thought, I'll move to the countryside. And I ended up in Suurbrak. So here I am. You see.
I just want to say something about this podcast where I'm staying now. There's a lot of trucks in front here, so I do have these nice microphones now. Thank you to Pierre from London, who supports me in what I do, telling people stories. For the microphones, cheers.
Gesundheit.
But there's still a lot of noise outside, so I don't know how it's going to come through, but it is what it is. We have a conversation with Gerhard, and it's here. It's on here. But tell me about how do you feel about the age where you are now? Are you like in acceptance of life? How do you feel about the future? How do you feel about art in South Africa and in the world? Are you positive, or are you just taking it day by day? What's the story?
I'm sort of taking it day by day, and I think for me art is very important and I need to be creative. I think a world without art would be completely meaningless for me. I need to be creative daily to keep the demons away. It's a difficult time still for me to go through. Just being an artist is a difficult choice to have made.
Yeah. It's a bit of an insane choice.
Yes, it's not easy. It's the thin little narrow road and not the wide tarred road that I have chosen to take. But I enjoy life. It's beautiful. It's a gift. And live every day like it's not your last day, but maybe your second last day.
or like you died already.
No, you have to live. Every moment counts. Everything matters to me. Everything matters. People's thoughts. Every moment matters. Yeah. And I think that's important. I think we live in a world where so many things are happening at the moment in time now, in say April 25. All over the world, there's strife all over the world, and I think for everybody it's a difficult time. It's not politically and in every possible way.
Yeah, for me the most difficult thing at our age and our profile in South Africa as artists is I can kind of deal with the poverty. It's not nice, obviously, it's hard, but all artists has always had to deal with kind of understanding that you're not going to be part of the normal economic circles.
It's limiting.
Yeah, it's very limiting. But for me, it's mostly the misunderstanding about other people, about what artists are and what their lives. There's like a misunderstanding about what you do. For me, that's kind of almost the hardest thing. Because this is a job, being a creative and doing things every day in a creative way, because that's what you do, is actually a job. That's what you do with your life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people just think it's like, yeah, I mean,
It's more than a job, it's like a calling.
It's a calling, it's a life. It's not just a little sideline you do because you're bored. This is what you do.
Art is my children.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, so I consider it as I'm the father of my artwork kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I know somebody like Breitenbach wrote the most beautiful poem, and it took him an hour, I think, to write. And even on top of the poem, he wrote from what time till what time. So what I'm trying to say, that every moment matters. Everything is important.
Yeah.
And you can spend an hour looking at TV or something and do nothing, and nothing happens. Or you can write a poem or make a drawing.
Yeah.
That probably will last longer than a TV show.
But you know, there's a common misconception, because that hour is not really the hour. There's a lot of lead up time to that hour. There's a whole life being lived before you get an idea in that hour. And that's the thing about art. It's progressive, accumulating knowledge and life experience.
Yes.
Maybe one day you make something in an hour or a day or two, but your whole life led up to that moment.
Yeah.
And the difference is, if you work in a factory and you make, let's say you make a skateboard, and your job is to put the wheel on every day. All you do is you put the wheel on every day. That's your job, over and over and over.
Repetition.
Repetition. But what we do is not repetition. Every time you make an artwork,
It's something new, yeah.
it's something that led up, all your experiences led up to that moment where you make that artwork.
Yeah.
It's a different timeline, it's a different concept. It doesn't really work in a marketable economy. And I think we kind of lost that in modern society, that idea of what art really is. Now, it's not just a commodity, it is something to do with being a human, with a human spirit and a human way of thinking about how humans are living life in the world. And that's not something that's quantifiable into logic or money or a little structure. You know, it's beyond that.
Yeah, but I think artists are let's call it the vitrine. I think it's the window shop, the window of the world. Yeah. I mean, an artist should be what they call avant-garde as well.
Yeah.
Before your time. So I think a lot of artists are slightly ahead of the time that they're living in. Yeah.
You know what the funny thing is about popularity? What is popular? It's got this worth, monetary worth, because it's popular. Because I made this comment because I'm so pissed off. I don't have a drone. I'm a filmmaker, because I do tell stories with pictures. But everybody just goes crazy about drone shots and a stupid soundtrack, and I think it's great, but it's shit. It's not. They're not telling a story. Just putting up a fancy drone shots and putting up a soundtrack. And I would get so pissed off when I see that, because I work so hard on putting my little montages together and my images. But nobody cares about that. They care about the drone shot and the soundtrack. And that is the sad thing about art. You will always be kind of, if you're like an artist.
Well, hopefully the final product will transcend all that, you know.
Because of popular demand, it often doesn't. It just gets lost. The real meaning gets lost. And with the risk of sounding pretentious, but I think that is the struggle of an artist. You just have to accept that you're probably not going to be understood, and you're going to get lost somewhere in the noise of what is popular.
Yeah, I think a lot of the world, I mean, everyday world has just been commercialized in such a way that people accept stuff that people would have not laughed at like 100 years ago, or not even. I mean, the fact that somebody can sell a banana stuck to a wall for $6 million. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. If you look at Leonardo da Vinci's Pieta, for example, that's carved from marble, compared to a few hundred years later a banana, and it's hilarious. It's wrong.
For me, the absurdity about the banana is the art. So I kind of like it, actually, personally. I think it's kind of saying what we're saying, taking the piss.
It's taking the piss out, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
$6 million, that's over 100 million rand, and that's what some people not even earn in their lifetime, you know.
Yeah, I could do with like $50,000 and help me a lot. But listen, man, it was nice having this chat in this impromptu little podcast, and I hope a few people listen to this. So I'll see. I've got this Lani sound gear now, so I want to do more podcasts, especially here in my little studio gallery space here in Buffalo River. Let's see who pops up next.
Well, I think the most important message is support artists while
Like
they're
us.
still alive, because dead artists don't need your money.
Yeah, come visit us, bring booze.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Thank you,
man.
Chris.
Thank you again.
Beef.